Oh no. Finn is continuing. Ah, nuh-uh. Get down. It's okay. Next up is the hidden life. Next up is the hidden life of Cecily. Fuck. Welcome to another video. My name is Heather, and as always, I'm reading with a vengeance, and I hope you are too. Big love to you OGs who keep coming back, and if you're new to my channel, very warm welcome to you. If you want to help a girl out, please consider giving that like button a boop, and a subscribe would be wonderful. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the books that are coming out in February that I am super excited about. If you haven't watched my series of new releases that I'm excited about, just really quickly, I know a ton of books come out each month, but I go through all of those books and I really pick out the ones that appeal to me specifically and that I want to share with you because I'm super excited about them. So just a little disclosure, these are not all the books that are coming out in February. I just want to start off with the one book that I know that everybody's going to be talking about coming out in February, and that is The Women by Kristen Hanna. And you should be talking about it, and you should be excited about it. And if I hadn't already read the arc, I'd be excited about it too. I'll link the wrap up down below in which I talk about it, but I just wanted to mention it really quickly because I didn't want to leave you wondering why it didn't make this particular list. That's the only reason. I've already read it. All right, so the only order that I put these in are order of publication from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. That way I don't have to make the difficult decision of which one I'm most excited about. So the first up is Everyone Who Can Forgive Me Is Dead by Jenny Hollander. This is a mystery thriller with a touch of horror, so you know that speaks to my heart. This one follows Charlie Colbert, and she is at the top of her game. She is the editor of a very popular magazine. She's married to the golden child of the publishing industry. Everything's going really good for Charlie in her life. But 9 years ago when she was in graduate school, something terrible happened on Christmas Eve, and I think the event was called Scarlet Christmas. And while the police and the media called Charlie a witness to those events, Charlie knows that she was much, much more. But she fled and she began a new life for herself. But now, 9 years later, a classmate of Charlie's from graduate school has made a new buzzy film about those events. And Charlie knows that some secrets that she wants to stay covered will come to light. So she has decided to do what she can to make sure that her new life is not disturbed by the events of the past. So this ticks a lot of boxes for me. We have a mystery thriller, and this is also a debut novel. So of course I'm excited about it. Everyone Who Can Forgive Me Is Dead comes out February 6th. I know everybody's going to be talking about this next one, but the synopsis has me a little bit hooked too. And that is The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I have yet to read a Frida McFadden, but I hear nothing but good things about her, and the synopsis has got me very intrigued. This is a psychological thriller. This one follows Eve. She has a very good life. She has a loving husband, and she has a really good job teaching math at the local high school. But at the start of the new year, she realizes that her life is going to take a turn because she discovers that Addie is going to be one of her students. And Addie was at the center of a scandal that hit the high school the previous year. As far as Eve and everybody else knows, Addie can't be trusted. She lies. She hurts people. We're going to find out a little bit more about Addie because evidently she is not what everybody thinks she is. But Addie does have secrets, and she's going to do everything she can to make sure those secrets stay hidden. This one sounds like a fun ride. I think it's going to be twisty. I think it's going to mess with our heads. I am here for it. The Teacher comes out February 6th. All right, this next one is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it has just enough of the good stuff that I normally gravitate to for me to overlook that. A couple of people from work have already read the arc and have raved about it. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one coming out. The book I'm talking about is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. And yes, this is the author of The Bear and the Nightingale, which of course is also on my TBR. This one is historical fantasy. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking, but bear with me. This one follows Laura and Freddie. They're brother and sister, and they're both fighting in World War I. Laura is a nurse, and of course, Freddie is a soldier. I think Laura gets injured and she gets sent home, and not long after, she finds out that Freddie has died in combat, but she feels something is a little off, so she ends up going back to try to find out what happened to Freddie. but she's learning some kind of weird things that are going on. At the private hospital she's working at, she's hearing like whispers that some of the trenches are haunted. She's also hearing about a local hotelier who has a wine that has some kind of magical properties, but not in a good way. So Laura is wondering if maybe Freddie has fallen victim not to combat, but to something else. And the other thing that intrigues me about this book is that it's told from two perspectives and two timelines. So you're following Laura in the present in 1918 as she's trying to find out what happened to her brother. But then I think you're also following Freddie the year before, and I think you're progressively going to find out what happens to him. So even though I have not done well with fantasy in the past, I think with this being more of a paranormal aspect to it and maybe a little bit of magical realism, I have had good history with those types of things. So that coupled with historical fiction and brother and sister trying to get back to each other, I think this is going to be a favorite this year. The Warm Hands of Ghosts comes out February 13th. Next up is End of Story by A.J. Finn. That sounds familiar. This is the author of The Woman in the Window, which I believe was a love it or hate it book. I liked it. And the synopsis to this one has me intrigued, obviously. This is another mystery thriller, but this also has the book within a book aspect to it, so that kind of elevates my excitement a bit. So this one follows Nikki. She fancies herself kind of a detective fiction expert, and she gets a request from Sebastian Trapp, a longtime reclusive crime writer, to help draft his life story. Sebastian is currently living in his San Francisco mansion with his second wife and his very protective daughter, Madeline. As Sebastian is starting to tell his story, he also hints about possibly also solving an old crime that was never solved. And this is when we get into the fact that 20 years ago, on I think New Year's Eve of 1999, Sebastian's first wife and son disappear without a trace, and a case that was never solved. And of course now, in the present day, as Sebastian is telling his story, secrets are starting to come out, and Nikki is starting to suspect that maybe Sebastian had something to do with his first wife and son's disappearance. And now even Madeline, his daughter, is starting to have questions of whether or not her dad had something to do with it. And then, of course, to add even more to the story, a dead body shows up in the koi pond in the backyard, and Nikki and Madeline are left to figure out what is going on with this dead body and what it might have to do with the 20-year-old mystery. So I think this one has just enough depth to elevate it as a mystery thriller instead of just being another mystery thriller. So here's hoping that A.J. Finn is continuing to master his craft. End of Story comes out February 20th. Next up is The Hidden Life of Cecily Larson by Ellen Baker. This one is literary fiction / historical fiction, and I just love the synopsis behind this one. I hear talk that it's kind of a mix of Orphan Train and Water for Elephants, both books I love. So this one has a lot of promise. So the story opens in 1924. Cecily's mom drops her off at an orphanage, promising to be back, but she never returns, of course. So we follow Cecily's life at this orphanage, and then finally at the age of 7, she is adopted by a family that runs a circus. And for a while, Cecily believes she's found the family that she's craved for so long. Years go by. We follow her as she travels with this circus. And then as a teenager, she's starting to see kind of the cracks in that lifestyle, and she ends up falling for the wrong guy, and she finds herself in danger, and we followed that for a little while. And we follow along in Cecily's life, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to it. And then I think we jump to 2015, and Cecily is 94 years old. She's living a quiet life with her daughter and granddaughter and great-grandson, and then they decide to do an at-home DNA test, and secrets come out. And we learn about a tragic love story that happened in Cecily's past, something that Cecily wants to leave in the past, and it throws everything in her present kind of into question. So this one I am extra excited about. I love a story that kind of spans an entire lifetime. So of course I have high hopes for this one as well. The Hidden Life of Cecily Larson comes out February 20th. Next up is Brooklyn by Tracy Brown. This is contemporary fiction, I think, with a touch of mystery thriller. This one is unique because I think the story opens as our main character is dying, and she is questioning how she got here, how she became the cold, calculating, conniving master manipulator that she is. And in doing so, she kind of recounts her whole life as growing up the children of hustlers, becoming a hustler herself, falling in love with kind of a major player in the drug business. But not only because she's a hustler, but because she's a survivor, she ends up hustling the wrong person. And now as she's dying, the question isn't who would want to kill her, but who wouldn't? So I think this is just a unique twist on the mystery thriller with a look at the kind of underbelly of the hustling scene in New York City. I have a feeling if done well, this story is going to be a compelling one. Brooklyn comes out February 27th. Last but not least, we have Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. This is literary fiction / historical fiction, and this one is kind of a follow-up to There, There, but not necessarily a sequel. So I don't think you have to read There, There before reading this one. However, I'm gonna want to because There, There's been on my TBR for a long time. I think there's a shooting of a character in There, There, and the events in Wandering Stars lead up to that shooting. This one opens up in 1864 in Colorado, and we're following Star, a young Native American, and she's a survivor of the Sand Creek Massacre. But she is brought to a prison camp where she is taught English and taught to practice Christianity and kind of stripped of everything Native American about her by one of the prison guards. And it happens to be the prison guard who goes on to found the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, an institution that is dedicated to the eradication of Native American history, culture, identity. And then a generation later, Star's son is sent to that school. He is brutalized by the same people who brutalized his father. But while there, he meets a young girl, Opal, and the two of them kind of have a more hopeful outlook for the future away from this school. And then in present day Oakland, you're following Opal, and it turns out she is the aunt of the character who was shot in There, There. So she is doing everything she can to keep her family together as her nephew is recovering from the shooting. I feel like this is kind of an oversimplification of the story. I just really need to get to There, There, but I do want to tell you, I don't think it's required to enjoy Wandering Stars. So that's why I'm including in this list. I'm really excited to read this author, as well as read a story that surrounds Native American history. So that is it. Those are the books that I am excited for to come out in February. Which of these are you excited for? And if you didn't see it on the list, which books are you excited for to come out in February? I'd like to know. Please let me know, or you can say hi down in the doodly-doo. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.